welcome back to Your Future, Your Finances. I'm your host, Brian Kuhn. This segment, we're talking with David Lucas of the Law Office of David Lucas in Rockville, Maryland. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks for having me.
Yep. We're talking about all the different kinds of trusts, which is a very important topic. If you are a regular of this show, you've seen me have estate attorneys on talking about wills and things like that, but we're going to get a little bit more advanced in this segment and talk about what's called trust planning. And there's a lot of different kinds of trusts, apparently.
There are, Brian. I guess starting at the top, there you have what are called testamentary trusts and inter vivos or living trusts. Okay. And a testamentary trust is one that is not created until death. So, for example, someone might create a testamentary trust in their will for, let's say, a minor child, where they would say, I want my child to get all of my estate or my assets, but I don't want that child to be in control of their inheritance until maybe they're 30 years old or at a responsible age where they can then have control of it, right? And maybe that person would want a trustee, somebody else who's more responsible, to manage that money until the child reached that certain age or responsibility level. So that would be a testamentary trust. It would come about after death, created in a will, and you set forth the instructions on how to do that. An inter vivos trust or a living trust would work the same way, except you can create that trust during life. So you'd be able to set up a trust now and get to say what you want your instructions of how that trust should work now. And for a living trust or an inter vivos trust, it can be irrevocable or it can be revocable. So I'm sure you've heard a lot about revocable living trusts. They are similar to wills in that you get to say in your living trust, revocable living trust, who gets what and when and under what circumstances after death. It's somewhat of a will substitute. And that's one of the options people have as their basic estate plan is to use a revocable living trust. And that's the foundation most people have for an estate plan is revocable trust or will. You're going to have one or the other, and pretty much everyone who owns something should have one of those two estate plans. But then we also have irrevocable trusts, which...
So not changeable trusts.
Not changeable.
Once they're established.
With certain exceptions. Of course, there's always exceptions to the general rule, but generally not changeable. And you're going to use an irrevocable trust really to achieve a certain objective. So, with a will or revocable living trust, you'll be able to say who gets what and when, and with the trust you can avoid probate if that's one of your goals. You can provide a system for incapacity planning if you become incapacitated. That's kind of the foundation. And an irrevocable trust is where you're going to use an advanced strategy to kind of build upon that. So not necessarily everyone will have a need for an irrevocable trust as part of their estate plan. And also there are many different types of irrevocable trusts. And which one you're going to use is going to depend on the person's individual circumstances as well as what their assets are made up of. If someone has a lot of life insurance versus if someone has a large IRA versus if someone has a lot of properties, there may be different types of irrevocable trusts that would help to achieve the higher goal, which could be elimination or mitigation of estate taxes at death, or you might want to provide some asset protection, not only for yourself while you're alive, but also perhaps for your beneficiaries, your children, grandchildren, maybe protect their inheritance from creditors or other predators coming and taking the assets that you've worked hard and long for. And so...
And we'll go over a lot of the different kinds. I want to ask you, though, do you think that the rules that govern trusts, like the rules that Congress makes and stuff, are they making the uses of trusts more prevalent or less prevalent?
I think trusts are just going to be more prevalent as we continue to go on, because I think they're just trusts are very flexible if they're done correctly.
Right.
And so with all the different laws that are always changing, as you've pointed out, a trust is going to be able to allow people to have flexibility in their own estate plan. So I think the changing landscape, as well as the increasing estate tax exemption, which I don't know if that's particularly one of the laws you're referring to,
that's
but
an example, yeah.
But so that is changing the types of trusts that are more beneficial to clients, whereas we may not necessarily need bypass trusts anymore because of the rising estate tax exemption, which by 2019, if you're a Maryland resident, it'll be the same as the federal, which will be 5.9 million. So there's not going to be a lot of people that are going to be necessarily worried about estate taxes, but with the trust, you can also do other things than just avoid estate taxes.
There's always going to be people worried about passing assets on or their own decision-making ability.
Right, or they're trying to protect some money from a nursing home stay in the future at some point. Or they have a beneficiary who's a spendthrift or is not good with money, or someone who's special needs. And there's various situations that people could have that a trust is going to benefit them.
Okay. We didn't get into all the different kinds. We'll do that in the next segment. We got to take a break real quick. We're speaking with David Lucas of the Law Office of David Lucas in Rockville, Maryland. Bear with us. We'll be right back. Thanks. You're watching Your Future, Your Finances.